Hello, everybody. The misconceptions about Islam have been happening throughout history. So it's not something new that somebody will try to have some sort of a shubuha or a misconception about Islam being distributed around to try to basically distract people from what Islam is all about. In different eras of history, since 1400 years ago, which is since Islam was founded by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, each period had its own special misconceptions that were spread around. So, in some eras, some of the misconceptions pertain to certain schools of thought, certain beliefs about Islam. In some other day and age, like in our today and age, there are other things that are coming up in order to basically distract people about Islam and Muslims. And I personally, I do not like to delve into the idea of addressing these misconceptions, and I don't do that personally because I think it basically does not result in any benefit, in any long-term benefit, and I'll explain why. So these misconceptions, they're not addressing and they're not really going after the core of the faith or the core of Islam. And it is not even going after some of the direct peripheral topics that Islam tries to address, because all these topics and the core of Islam itself is not really an issue. And if people were to understand that, they wouldn't have issues with Islam, there wouldn't be conflicts with Muslims overall. So, what happens is that somebody comes at different time and age, and they would find something in some book or in some uh, scholarly opinion or in even some lies that were fabricated about Islam, and then he or she would take that and then would expand it into huge topics to discuss and into something that can be turned into a mainstream soundbite. And then what happens is that all the attention goes to that one single thing. And people forget about, well, all right, so that thing, assume it's even correct. And in many cases, not even correct. Assume it is correct. How is that going to benefit in bridging any gaps? It really wouldn't. It will basically help in breaking barriers and breaking bridges. And one of those topics is the age of Aisha, or some people call her Aisha. May Allah be pleased with her. She is the mother of the believers. Muslims believe that all the wives of the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him are considered uh, mothers to the believers. They have lived with the Prophet Muhammad peace be upon him, and they played a huge role in the development of this faith and this nation, the nation of Islam. And I don't mean by in the nation of Islam the specific organization that Malcolm X belonged to in the United States, but just to talk about the idea of the ummah, the nation itself, people basically adherent to or people who follow Islam. And those wives of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they were not ordinary people. They were really, really special people, very intelligent people. And they had a role to play, and they played the role very well. But for some reason, they people pick on one of the most significant characters in the basically the life of Islam, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, the wife of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and they try to find things to attack. And people who listen to some of these arguments, they might think that this idea, the age of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, is something that has existed since 1400 years ago. And this misconception has been addressed over and over and over. But the reality is that it is something that is very, very new. Some, I think, very smart guy or a very smart girl said, okay, well, the social norm in today's time and age has changed. And the definition of what a child is has changed. So let's look at the history. Let's find something that did not or does not adhere to today's social norms. It did adhere to the social norms of the past. And let's try to repackage it into this Pandora box that people can basically poke at, they can open and they can listen to the music that comes out of it. And basically, it can play as a distraction, at least for the next couple hundred years. And they did, and it has been very successful. I personally, as I said, I do not like to address these topics because they're a distraction. And I'm not going to, you might be surprised, I'm not going to hit this topic very academically, but I'm going to tell you something that will intrigue you. That this topic, as well as basically all the other misconceptions, they are academically addressed in the tradition, whether in the historic tradition or in contemporary tradition. These topics are not something that gets just shoved under the rug, and the scholars just leave it and say, okay, well, we don't have an answer. It's something that happened in the past, and we don't have an answer for it. No, that's not the truth. The truth is that from an academic and scientific perspective, these things have been addressed. But what is rarely addressed is the impact of such misconceptions on both the Muslims and the non Muslims. Now, every time I make a video, not every time, but in many of my videos that I publish, I get comments and replies and very interesting engagement that basically tries to capitalize on some of these misconceptions, including the misconception of Aisha's age. And I know that most of these comments are trolls, and we should not be addressing the trolls. But it is also important to know that even such trolling does impact the other people, the people that are actually looking for the truth, and people that are looking for the actual answer. And to those people, I say the answer is available. I'm not going to address it in this video. I mean, I can make some videos and address it. It's not where I'm trying to position myself. But it is important for you to know the impact of such misconception, specifically the age of Aisha. May Allah be pleased with her. So right now, since about 100 years ago until today, what is being propagated around the world is that the Muslim man is a savage. A Muslim man is not somebody with ethos, is not somebody with manners, is not a family man. That is what is being propagated through very intense propaganda. And on to top that, alongside that propaganda, what is being propagated as well is the idea that the Muslim man has to be controlled, because they are very wild beasts. They are uncontrolled and uncontrollable, crazy people that will do anything for their own desires and for their own lust. And this image, in and within itself, is very political, is not religious, it is political. On the other hand, you also have what is being propagated as well, for 100 years, for about 100 years, is the idea that the Muslim woman is an oppressed person in the society, whether it is through the niqab, whether it is through the arranged marriages, whether it is through taking her wealth, whether it is not giving her voting rights. All these things are being propagated in order to position the Muslim woman as somebody who is not intelligent, who doesn't have her own agency, as well as somebody who is not capable of freeing herself, and that the duty of the external forces is to come and free her, is to come to this society, this Muslim society that is supposedly a savage society, and free that poor, mistreated female that is helpless. And this is also a very political idea, because how would you justify basically arresting and attacking, arresting the man and imprisoning the man, as well as being aggressive towards the Muslim man, without those two pillars, which is that the Muslim man is somebody who is an aggressor, and the Muslim woman is somebody who is an oppressed agent in society. So when you put these two together, how would you go about, in the best way, how would you go about addressing both of these, or not addressing, how would you go about creating propaganda to hit those two birds, to kill those two birds with one stone? Well, you would want to find something in which both of those characters, the man and the woman in the Muslim society, are involved in, and find something that goes against the current social norms, and take it and unpackage it in such a way that it can be turned into sound bites that can be propagated around society and the different layers of society, including the people that are not educated, the people that are considered middle class, and the academic people and the professors and the aristocrats in society. How would you give something, or how would you go about giving a topic or propagating a topic that can be used to create basically a havoc of discussion and sway the public opinion? Well, a very good topic is the age of Aisha, radiallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with her. And that topic attacks the two most significant characters in Islam. The first one is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who is the role model for Muslims, that every Muslim or every non-Muslim who actually learns about his bio, they want to basically do the same as he did, because he's a very ethical man, he's a very respectful man, he is a family man, and he's a statesman. And somebody like that who has collected all these good characteristics, anybody who reads about him, whether they were Muslims or non Muslims, they would be fascinated by that man. And then they would want to try to be like that man. So we gotta attack that character, the character of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then on the female side, one of the most important characters in the whole Islamic tradition is Aisha, is this woman, this very intelligent and very multifaceted woman who was a scholar. She was the highest level of a scholar in the Islamic tradition. If you were to take the basically the classification of scholarship in Islam, she would even go beyond a mujtahid mutlaq, which means somebody who is an absolute deducer of law in Islam, somebody who led armies. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, she led armies, and this is documented in history. Somebody who the men and the women in the Islamic society, whenever they were asked about who is the most knowledgeable in this Islamic empire, they would point directly to her and they would say, go speak to Aisha. She is the mufti of this ummah. Somebody who lived with the Prophet, peace be upon him, and had many discussions and many debates and many engagements with him, and somebody who managed to take out that inner life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the hidden life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and turn it into something that people can learn from. So you take that character that every female who reads about Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, and you attack that character. You try to demolish that character. So now, people who hear about the most significant man character in the Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, start developing these incorrect understanding about him, and hence they don't want to be like him. And females who might want to be like Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, also start developing these misconceptions and these misunderstandings and these incorrect information about Aisha, and hence they would say, well, I don't want to be like Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. And in that way, you basically demolish the man character and the woman character. And then you replace them with a savage male character who needs to be restrained and who needs to be basically controlled. And you replace that with an oppressed female character who is helpless and who needs saving. And this is a very deep psychological, it's a political and psychological issue that a lot of people do not pay attention to. And the answers and the rebuttals are already out there. They are in academic papers, they are on YouTube videos, they are addressed through normal conversations with Muslims. But the understanding and our current society know that most people are not going to go look for the answer, although the answer is out there and it's abundantly available. And hence, this idea or these ideas continue to be propagated in society. And even though you might get the answer, now I'm going to tell you something that is very deep, and you need to really pay attention to this, whether you're a Muslim or non Muslim, especially if you're looking for the truth. Whether you address this misconception or not, if you don't change your perspective, then another misconception will come and will surface and will take your attention again. And one misconception after the other, one misconception after the other, you would have spent and wasted all your life going after the misconceptions and forgetting about the core of the message of Islam. This message of Islam that can actually change lives. For people who are Muslims, it can change the life of the Muslim if they focus on the core message of Islam and the ethos of Islam and the grand ideas that Islam came with, like freeing slaves, like giving people the rights to in society, giving everyone the right to be free of debt, giving everyone the right to have a safe place, not oppressing other nations. All these ideas, these very deep, deep ideas that came and challenged the empires that existed when Islam was founded, you would not be able to have time to pay attention to these. And actually, I'm hopefully I actually inshallah will, God willing, I will make another video, uh, maybe tomorrow. Just pay attention to these videos that I will be making very soon to kind of just show you the cultural shift in understanding, the perspective shift, the worldview shift that Islam came with. So that's the first aspect, is that you will not be able to have time to look at the core message of Islam if you're a Muslim. If you're not a Muslim, you would not be able to build those bridges between yourself and your community and between the Muslims and their communities. Because the lens that you will be looking through is the lens of misconceptions, is through the lens of these shubuhat. And then you would live your life either not knowing the truth, not being able to live fully and engage fully with the Muslims and the Muslim community, or you would be living in fear. I definitely have come across people who are afraid, who are constantly afraid of Muslims, that Muslims are going to come, they're going to attack the civil society, they are going to take the woman, they are going to rape the woman, they are going to steal all the assets that society has, and they will kill everybody. And some people truly they live in fear, in that fear. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know that there are 2 billion Muslims in the world. That's 25% of the world. If that was the aim of Muslims, then you only need each Muslim to take care of four other non Muslims, and the only survivors will be Muslims. But that's not the aim and the objective of Islam or Muslims. And a lot of people, they still live in fear. They're like, oh, Muslims are coming to get us. I have spent years in this field looking at many of those misconceptions and debating people, and people would be shocked when they hear the facts. They'll be like, oh, I had no idea. Obviously you had no idea, because it is being veiled away from you. The facts are being veiled away from you. But despite all of that, that might not have helped them be comfortable with themselves and be comfortable with the Muslims. And it wouldn't even have helped the Muslims who are drowned in these misconceptions have that very expanded and breathing chest to accept and basically educate themselves about the core of Islam, of their own faith. And Muslims and non-Muslims can live in an apprehensive way with these misconceptions. I hope this video is helpful. Please follow my page. Go to understandislam.ca and subscribe. There will be quite a bit of new programs that will be coming out, inshallah, God willing. And again, I wish to not basically dive into these misconceptions because I deeply believe that they are distracting from the core message of Islam. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next episode.